Hey, what's up? Jared Noble here, and I want to share with you really quickly one of the things that has helped me out with getting my mixes more consistent. And so there's a secret to kind of making your mixes more consistent. And if you've been struggling with getting your music to sound the same when you play it in your car or go listen to it on other people's speakers and sound systems and stuff like that. Maybe things just don't sound the same everywhere that you listen to it, or maybe from song to song to song, whenever you're trying to mix this song to that song as you're producing, then maybe you're not hearing the same consistency in those mixes as you're trying to mix. And because I've had some students of mine who've been asking me about how to get better mixes and be more consistent with their mixes. So I wanted to share this with you if you're having this same problem. So the main thing, I can say it in two words, right? So the thing that you really need, the secret to it, is something called gain staging. And gain staging is kind of the technical term for it, but it's really what it means is when you turn one thing up, somewhere along the way it's going to have to get turned down at some point, possibly, right? Because you can turn up something too much and then it just gets to be too loud, and then in the mix with everything else it just doesn't fit right. And if you're not watching how you're gain staging things throughout your mix, or if you don't have a process for gain staging things in a way that it comes out consistently, then that is what could be affecting your mixes from song to song to song to song, right? And so when you're mixing, gain staging is really important. And you can think of it this way, right? If you start by mixing your song, let's say you have your kick, right? And your kick is you're trying to make the kick sound good. So you put a bunch of plugins on it, you compress it, do all this crazy fun stuff to make it louder, hit harder, all those kind of things. By the end of it, if you started with your kick at this level, by the end of it, the kick might actually be louder than what it was before. So you have to turn it down at somewhere along the way to set the level so that way it sits with everything else and plays nicely with everything else in the mix. And there's, that's really the long and short of it as far as gain staging goes, where the loudness is at, when it starts versus after you're done processing it, or when you go to mix it and all that kind of stuff. The level has to match with everything else. And if you're having trouble with gain staging everything in your mix and getting everything to kind of sit right inside of the entire mix, that's something that you can fix by putting something like a metering plugin on your master fader and watching the meters through that way. And it's really just about turning things down as they need to be turned down, or turn them up as they need to be turned up to kind of bring them out or kind of push them back. But really it all comes down to, like I said, those two words, gain staging, right? So gain staging could be individual, like it could be an individual sound, right? So it could be your kick. You need to make that louder, but then whenever you put your kick in with the rest of the drum kit, it's actually much louder than what it used to be, so you need to turn it down, and that's a form of gain staging just on an individual level. And then inside of your mix, well, that was kind of an example of inside of the mix too, because now the kick has gotten louder, but relative to the other things, it actually gets too loud, right? And maybe you have something that's too quiet, so you have to bring it up in levels to kind of match where that kick is at now, because the kick is hitting where it needs to be. But then once you get to your overall mix, you might be clipping the master fader, right? You might have all of these sounds that sound good, but then you go and you look at your master fader and it is just hitting red, it's clipping, right? So then you need to go back in and pull everything down, So it's really just gain staging. It's kind of a balancing act of when something gets turned up, do I need to turn something else down somewhere along the way? So if I put a plugin on it that makes it louder, do I need to turn the volume down here? Or do I need to go, somewhere else and turn other things up, because now that's at a good level? So then you want to do that. Can you explain how to maintain headroom in my mix? That's a good question. So I just got a question about maintaining headroom in your mix. Headroom is the difference between where the top, the loudest part of your song is, and the ceiling, right, at which it needs to is the max level that it can be at. In most what it can be measured, or whenever you're trying to put your music out, right? The measuring stick, right? I guess the bar is set at 0, and the 0 is actually dB full scale, so dBFS. So 0 is like the max, right? And then below that, the loudest point at which your song is at, that's actually the headroom that you have. So the loudest point of your track and that kind of benchmark of 0 dBFS, that's where your headroom is at. If you're already going above 0, you've got no headroom. If you want to maintain headroom, then the key to that is, like I said, gain staging, right? It's looking at your master fader and understanding, do I have enough room between the loudest part of my song and that 0 mark, right? So that's headroom. And if you want more headroom, here's a tip for you. If you want more headroom, right? If you want more space between that 0 mark and the loudest part of your song before you go to master it, if you want more headroom, then you need to compress. If you want more headroom and make things louder in the mix, then you need to compress them, right? Inside of the mix, not on the master fader. So if you're looking to get more headroom in that regard, then definitely gain staging is something that's going to help you out with that, all right? So maintaining headroom and getting more headroom is just a matter of pulling things down and turning the volume down inside of things. And to watch your headroom and to make sure that you're leaving enough headroom, you have to just watch that master fader, right? Watch that master meter and make sure that there is some headroom there to begin with, okay? If there's not, then you need to pull things down, all right? And so again, it all goes back to, like I said, gain staging. That's the one thing that is kind of the secret that I've learned to making my mixes more consistent. And that's the one thing I would say that would help you out if you're struggling with getting consistency in your mixes. That's the one thing that I would say would be the secret, right? That's the thing. If you're going to go and learn anything, I would say gain staging. Look at where you're turning things up, and then and where you need to turn things down, right? So then, so hopefully that answered your question about how you can maintain headroom in your mix. You're maintaining headroom, and like I said, if you're trying to keep that different, if you're trying to keep some room inside of there, it's all about compression and compressing things so that you can make them a little bit louder, but also keep the peaks from getting above a certain level and leave yourself some headroom. So yeah, that's my tip for today. Hopefully that you got some value out of that. If you did, be sure to drop a comment below and let me know. Also, make sure you hit that subscribe button. I'll be doing more of these videos and sharing more information with you like this. That's hopefully going to help you out. Again, thanks for coming by and check out this video, and you can check me out at jrnoble.co as well. All right. Thanks again for checking in, and I'm going to sign off for today. All right. I'll talk to you soon. Later.